Hey guys, welcome to another episode of RNG Small Ball. And today, I'm going to discuss the insane turnaround the Los Angeles Clippers are having right now. They went from losing to teams like the undermanned Memphis Grizzlies by double digits to holding the number one ranked team in the East, the Pistons, to under 100 points. Kawhi Leonard is on a historic streak, and the Clippers are putting up league-leading numbers. So let's get into what is making them so good and analyze their recent performances in-game. Make sure to like, subscribe, and even leave a comment for what episodes you want to see next. Let's start by looking at the Clippers before their 6-game winning streak. They had lost 19 of the previous 22 games, and were at the bottom of the league in practically every statistic. The team energy and chemistry were at an all-time low, and the lack of team cohesiveness was so bad that it was reaching the front office. Chris Paul was apparently disrupting the coach's defensive assignments and telling players to do things that the coaches did not approve of. In one game against the Mavericks, Chris Paul told Kawhi during the game that he should switch on to Dwight Powell because Paul didn't believe Leonard had the energy to guard young star Cooper Flag. The Clippers went on to lose that game, and that was the absolute last straw for the Clippers coaching staff, especially Jeff Van Gundy, the Clippers defensive coordinator, and obviously head coach Ty Lue. In fact, Chris Paul wasn't even on speaking terms with Ty Lue for multiple weeks before this incident, which already put the locker room at a disadvantage as both guys are acknowledged as veteran NBA players with high basketball IQs. This was a major reason in the Clippers not finding success before this stretch of games, but another factor was their defense. The average age on the Clippers is 32 years old, by far the oldest in the NBA, and it was showing a lot in the Clippers' defense in transition and on cuts and off-ball movement. The Clippers allowed 24 points per game on transition, placing them in the bottom half of the league. If you watch their games, you can see the lack of effort from guys like James Harden, John Collins, and even Kawhi Leonard, obviously before their current winning streak. So many wide-open layups are given off lazy help defense and just not paying attention to backdoor cuts, and age is a big reason for this. The intensity wasn't the same as previous years, especially with morals low due to their ongoing losing streak and the locker room drama. Early in the season, the Clippers' defensive rating was in the trenches as they were giving up nearly 120 points in 100 possessions per game, a significant drop from last season. However, I think the biggest reason why the Clippers were consistently underperforming was Kawhi Leonard. Before the winning streak, Kawhi was only taking about 15 shots per game, which is lower than guys like Keontae George and Miles Bridges, both role players on bad teams. As a result, the Clippers' offense was heavily reliant on the James Harden and Ivica Zubac's pick and roll, and Kawhi was more of a spot-up shooter who received the ball on kickouts. Harden was putting up career numbers in field goals attempted per game, and his performance essentially dictated how the Clippers played as a unit. Occasionally, Zubac or someone else would have a big game, but outside of that, Harden was carrying a big load on offense, even having multiple 40-point games in a short stretch. The Clippers were also shooting the three ball really badly, which contributed to their offensive mishaps as well. But Kawhi's indirect refusal to be aggressive was the main contributor to these problems. Him not being ball dominant like he has been in previous years on teams where he was the main player has been forcing other players on the Clippers to step up when they are not ready to. The barrage of injuries that the Clippers encountered during this stretch made a pretty ugly offensive rotation for the Clippers, which exacerbated the situation. Finally, on December 20th, Kawhi finally decided to step up and show the world what he could do. This shift in his approach has been the clear catalyst for the team's turnaround. For most of the season, Leonard was playing a passive role, often taking between 13 and 16 shots, as I said before. Over this 6-game stretch, however, he has increased that volume to roughly 24.3 field goal attempts per night. By hunting his own shot and being the primary aggressor, he's forcing defenses to bend in ways they were not earlier in the year, which is creating much cleaner looks for his teammates. The run began on December 20th with a 103-88 win over the Lakers, where Leonard set the tone with 32 points on 24 attempted shots. He followed that on December 23rd by dropping 41 points on 16 of 23 shooting to dismantle the defensive-minded Houston Rockets 128-108. On December 26th, he remained aggressive in a 119-103 victory over the Portland Trail Blazers, finishing with 28 points and a heavy reliance on the whistle. His dominance reached a peak on December 28th against the Detroit Pistons, where he scored a career-high 55 points on 17 of 26 shooting, He put up 26 points in the third quarter alone, proving he could single-handedly dismantle his zone defense when he is in the rhythm. The efficiency has not dipped despite the heavy workload. After the Detroit game, he led a 131-90 blowout of the Sacramento Kings on December 30th, putting up 33 points in just 32 minutes, while shooting 11 of 19 from the field. He then opened the new year on January 1st by taking 29 shots against the Utah Jazz, finishing with 45 points and a 118-101 win. In that Jazz game, he was particularly lethal in the fourth quarter, outscoring the entire Utah team by himself to ice the game. When Kawhi plays with this level of intent, it takes the pressure off James Harden, whose shooting has been inconsistent. Having a true number one option who is willing to take 25-plus shots a night gives the entire offense a sense of direction it was previously lacking. This is not just a fluke or a hot shooting streak. It is a sustainable blueprint for how this team needs to operate. By leaning into a high-usage role for Kawhi, the Clippers have established a clear hierarchy that settles the rest of the rotation into more natural roles. We are seeing a version of Leonard that looks physically dominant, and as long as he maintains this aggressive mindset, the Clippers will be difficult out for anyone. They should absolutely continue to ride this momentum and let Kawhi dictate the tempo, as it has clearly unlocked a level of play that seemed impossible just a month ago. However, even with Kawhi playing at an MVP level, it is becoming clear that the Clippers cannot win without Kawhi having a big game, and that this current roster is not quite good enough to be a true championship contender. While the winning streak has been impressive, it has also exposed some thin spots in the depth chart, and a lack of size in the front court that better teams will eventually exploit in a 7-game series. To really maximize this window while Kawhi is playing like this, I think the Clippers should make some moves to strengthen the rotation and bring him some more reliable pieces before the trade deadline. Thanks for listening to this episode of RNG Small Ball, and make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment including your thoughts on this episode. Until next time.